What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Car Biz Chronicles Season 5. I've said it already once. I'll say it again. I cannot believe we're doing this for the 5th time. And even crazier than that, we have on our first ever Car Biz Chronicle repeat guest, Dave Foy. Dave, how are you, man?
Oh, I couldn't be better.
Yeah.
So happy to be here and so happy to be the second guest.
First, second guest ever. And again, Car Biz Chronicles Season 2, Dave Foy was a part of. The last time we did this show, we had a really kick-ass environment. We were in Boston and we were hanging out all together and did dinner. And Dave, it was still one of my favorite days of being a business owner and being a guy in the car business was that day. So if I haven't thanked you for being a part of that, I needed to, because it was just awesome.
Yeah, you have, and that was a fun day. It definitely was. That was a beautiful day in Boston too.
It really was. It was in October. We were all kind of lucky for it, you know. I showed up to Fenway Park expecting to see a baseball field, and they were changing out the sod, so all I saw was a mound of dirt. But whatever, I'm sure whatever, it's fine. I'll go back at another time. But no, all right. So Car Biz Chronicles Season 5. Everyone, if you don't know at this point, we are covering the customer journey. And I've tried to go with the roster of people on the show this year. I've tried to go as far to the reaching ends as I could. I'm trying to find someone who's not involved in the car business, who bought a vehicle. I'm trying to find people who are, and some people in the middle. Dave Foy is a previous in retail guy, but his connections run deep. So when he said, I reached out to him and said, hey, Dave, know anybody? And he sends me back a really cool picture of his car, which we'll get into, and said, I'm your guy. So here we are. Dave Foy, tell us about, first of all, what brought you to needing, wanting, deciding to make a purchase? And then let's talk about how you went about it. Until we get into what it actually was, I want to see if folks can figure it out along the way. If you can do that, Dave, without giving it away, the vehicle of purchase, just let's talk about the journey and the whys.
Yeah. So the why is pretty simple. My son was getting his license and got it about a month ago, a little less than a month ago. But as he started approaching that, probably the last 2 years, I've been saying, when you get your license, I'll give you my car, which was a 2014 two-door Jeep Wrangler. I'm like, I'll give you my car and I'll get something different. Obviously not realizing that the situation the market would be in when this came up.
Yeah.
So
wishing you bought the car 2 years ago and you told me you were putting it off and just stashed it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was it was funny because the thing is worth now more than what I paid for it 7 years ago. It's
all right. Can we just pause, people? What he just said is stop buying cars for a second. I would never say that publicly. You all know what I mean when I say that, but fuck, use a book. Someone just stop what you're doing. Look at a value. These are not appreciating assets. Anyone in Gen Z or below listening to this show, this isn't how cars work. You're not, right. You know what I mean? The cars are closer to Bitcoin right now than they are the stock market. So please just relax on the investment. All right. So the car, in your case, now you're kind of like, hey, I got a 2014 car I'm giving to my kids worth more than what I paid for it. I got to go out and find myself a replaceable piece in the market.
Right. And so that's where my search started, and it took, I took a year or so kind of banging around, whether I just grab something used, do I maybe lease something, do I buy something, what is it that I actually want to get? If I'm going to buy something new, then I'm probably going to buy something that I actually want to have. Used, I'm more flexible. You take what you find out there. And, the used market kind of determined that I was not going to go used because I was not going to pay that kind of price for a used vehicle. So I started looking at new vehicles. Okay. Obviously I've worked at a bunch of different OEM branded dealerships. Right. So I reached back out to, the ones that interest me. One of the places that I worked had a CDJR store. So I reached out to talk about Jeeps. I loved that Jeep Wrangler. not the most comfortable riding car, but man, is that a fun car. So, you know, I reached out, talked to the owner there about getting a Jeep, and looked at a bunch of other things. I actually looked at the Mitsubishi hybrid. The SUV. I can't think of the name of it, but you know, I looked at that, thought that was kind of cool looking. The Volkswagen, not the Tiguan, that's a smaller one, another SUV. The Atlas.
Yeah.
I like the way that looks. And then I was on one of my Quantum 5 trips, and I had a Volkswagen as a rental, and I'm like, I can't drive this thing. Like, controls are in the wrong places. I'm like, my brain will never wrap around being able to drive this. So I tossed that one aside.
Okay. All right, but that's an interesting part of the process, because up until now, your process was kind of, you know, something that car guys and gals can experience by being able to call a dealership directly, get someone on the phone. But what you just experienced is something that I don't think enough people factor into the car buying experience, which is what happens when you're in a rental car, right? Yeah. I think a lot of people, you know, are yay or nay about a car, and then they rent it. They're like, wow, convinced I was right, convinced I was wrong, whatever. My problem with Volkswagens has always been the interior seats. I just have never been able to like get comfortable. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm just too much of the Midwestern. I don't know if I'm not skinny. And I don't know what it is, but it's not comfortable. So I understand that. So that was a rental car. VW off the list. We've got a CDJR. We've got a hybrid Mitsubishi. What else did we look at?
That probably about rounds up. Well, I looked at some Ford, some pickup trucks. I've had a pickup truck in the family up until I got the Jeep, and we didn't have one. So, you know, don't use it often, but that's one of those things that when you need one, you really wish you had one. So you've got pickup trucks are basically cars with a bed on the back now, right? They're that comfortable. So I looked at that option. And that probably about rounds it out with the vehicles I was actually interested in, going.
And this was within a year, Dave, leading up to when you actually closed on a car. So this is how you spent your year between. So you told the kid 2 years ago, you took a year to kind of forget about it. And then you said, all right, now here's the real story. I got a year left. This is what you were doing during that time.
Yes. Yep. Right. Just exploring options, knowing that at some point, obviously, there was no hammer coming down where, come the day he gets his license, I lose a car. If I didn't have a car, it's sorry, dude, you got to wait.
And you can drive my car when I'm at home or whatever, but here, not so your car.
Gave me some flexibility there, but it was, I still had that drop dead date in mind where when he got his license, I wanted him to be able to have that car. So, so those are really the vehicles that I focused on.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what made the decision when I finally picked the vehicle that I actually wanted. My wife and I were sitting having lunch outside a place, and a specific kind of vehicle came driving by, and I said, "Oh, that's one of those blank cars." I won't say it. That's one of those blank cars. And she looked and she goes, "Oh, wow, those are really nice." She goes, "You should get one of those." And I'm like, okay. I said, hadn't really put it on the list. I think they're really cool, but hadn't put it on the list because just didn't figure I was going to get that kind of vehicle. So
what, you're not cool enough, or what is it? So why did it never make the list? How did that come up for you? Because it seems like, obviously I know the vehicle, but it seems as if that vehicle would have, given your search parameters and what you just described to me, I was really expecting you to have already mentioned it.
Yeah. So and I'll tell you exactly what it was. So I had at one point gone on to the website and built this particular vehicle, right?
Somewhere in the last 12 months, somewhere during your journey of all this other stuff, you were like, this is the car Dave Foy might even dream of. He's going to go build it on the OEM site and see what it's all about.
Right. Went and built the one that I would want.
Yeah.
And the number that the thing spit back out at me, I said, there's no way I would pay that for a vehicle. Like I'm a New England guy here. Like I've been driving a 2014 Jeep Wrangler, right? Like I totally get it. Yeah, not going to spend that kind of money on a vehicle, and so I tossed it aside and said, yeah, that's out. Not gonna buy that.
Okay.
Until she said that, and then I was like, okay, she thinks it's cool. Maybe
Right,
I'll
right. So wait, so hold on. Now I gotta dig a second deeper, because you looked at the money and you were like, there's no way I'm gonna pay that. Yeah. However, I'm assuming, like my household, it's not like it's a one-way street of who decides one's finances, right? Yeah. So here you are thinking there's no way we would go for this. I probably might if I were Dave living on the edge, but I'm not. I'm Dave with the family and the kids. And there's no way the woman, at least in my house, who holds lock and key to said budget to sign off on said vehicle would ever sign off. Right. So it's dead to me. But the second she is thrilled by its appearance, she wonders how cool it would be. Dave says to himself, now's our time.
There we go. Let's formulate a plan.
Yes, that is my favorite part of a customer journey, because it's not, this had nothing to do with the website you visited, or if you are not a car person. Yep. This is a real life situation that leads to the purchase of cars.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yep, absolutely. There's no doubt that inside automotive, we sometimes do not pay attention to the voice of the customer enough.
No, right? Dave, we act like we have a clue. This is why I'm doing this season. Just for anyone now tuning in, the whole reason season 5 exists is because I'm really tired of all of us pontificating what we believe is the journey of a customer or what people go through. We don't know the first fucking thing. We have no idea. None of us are even close to being car consumers. You are, I guess, because again, you were a fixed ops guy for most of your career. So buying a car still involved you dealing with other people. Yep. But still, it doesn't matter. This is not what this was about. And this is you showing the real journey, which is dream cars, not budgetarily right. Wife likes it. Now, all of a sudden, the gates are open. So tell us what happens next. You're sitting there. This thing drives by. You've already built it. She now smiles about it. What happens now?
Yeah. So I said, all right, cool. I'll look into it. So went back to the website to see that the ordering deadline had closed. So I'm like, okay, that's a problem.
Right.
I'm like, so knowing the situation the industry is in, right? And that this was already a low production vehicle. Yep. So I made calls to people and said, what are the chances of being able to get one? And I got the same answer from three clients of ours that all said, can't order it. You can wait till they open up next year and order it. But even then, you don't know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. Or we can put you on a waiting list and hopefully, some people decide they don't want to buy, back out.
So let's talk about the reality of that, right? So the reality that's now coming to fruition and seeing that in the world is that this is happening more often than people could ever dream of. Because people are putting their name at 30 dealerships. Yeah. Assuming someone will acquire something faster or know more or get more. And then all right, so this is where I'm going to get a little frustrated, because the OEM thinks they have all these pre-orders that they're like, we have 4-year waiting list. You don't have shit. You have people waiting around till the thing they're looking for comes in, and you have nothing. Right. So I think some of what we believe to be over exaggerated as a part of this exact deal, because you didn't do that. I assume you didn't go to all, put your name in. No, you didn't even, you couldn't even order it. So no, you didn't go through that process. So here you are. Did you put your name on all 3 dealerships list? Like, hey, no big shame in that.
Yeah. So, and I didn't, I chose one.
All right.
And I chose the one because they explained to me the waiting list process, and that their waiting list was broken up into 2 different lists. So this vehicle comes in a 2-door or a 4-door configuration. I wanted a 2-door. And so he said, well, with the 2-door, you'll have less of a wait because there's not as many of those, but we have more people that back out of that because when they see it, they go, oh, that's smaller than what I thought it was. Right. And they back out of it. And nobody else explained that to me. In fact, one of the dealers had said they don't break the list up. You're on the waiting list. If it's a 2-door that comes up when you get there, then you get a 2-door, or you get offered a 2-door.
Can we talk about the proximity of these 3 dealerships to your home in Massachusetts?
One, 11 minutes from my house, a former place that I worked.
Okay.
One in Ohio. Okay. And one in Florida.
All right. And the final 2 are based on connections you have via work or anywhere else. Doesn't matter. These were personal connections at options 2 and 3.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So let's ask the next big question. Who took the time to explain it to you?
You want to know the exact name?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if you want to share it, if you think they're cool with it, I don't.
Yeah. Ed Roberts. Ed Roberts at Bozard Ford is
there. It is.
Who explained how their waiting list worked, and the fact that because I wanted a 2-door, he'd put me on the 2-door waiting list. It was shorter, and that they had more people that backed out of those sales.
Okay. And so now you're on the list. How long does it take for you to get a call?
So Ed tells me when I go on the list that I'm probably looking at waiting 6 months, because they don't even know when they're getting deliveries in. Right.
Okay.
So I talk to Ed all the time, but he sent me a text and that said, hey, you're up to number 5 on the waiting list. You're probably looking at another month and a half.
Was this after the 6 months had passed, or was this leading, like, were you a month and a half in?
Yeah, no, this was, so we were probably 2.5 months in at this point.
All right. And he said you're a month and a half out. So now we're 4 months inside of a 6-month window.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm like, sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He literally calls me. That was a Monday. He calls me on a Saturday and goes, hey, I got one here. And unfortunately, the customer that ordered it can't get financed. Do you want it? And I'm like, man, I really hope that it's pretty. Like, please don't tell me this is some god awful color.
Don't tell me it's the green on gray where I'm just like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, just stock little tires on it, all this
because
other stuff.
Someone ordered it, Dave, right? Ultimately, right. So that's the part of this whole custom configuration thing that gets a little weird, because if you've ever been in a custom house, it's not always great, dude. It's not always like, it's not timeless in that way, most cases, because it's very, very specific. Mm-hmm. So you could get a really jacked up version of the car you were hoping to get, and he's got one in front of him. So, and he calls you on a Saturday, dude. Yeah. By the way, can we just talk about real leaders in automotive? Like the dude is the operator, right? He's the front man, I believe.
He's the COO.
I forget
COO of
COO of the store there, and he's on a Saturday, making sure a car deal gets done. Ed Roberts, thank you for that. I hope people in the business take that away from this part of it. That again, Dave's not your average consumer, but I bet you Ed's talked to other people on that list, and he's had other communication with folks about how it goes. So bravo to him.
Guarantee you that.
All right. Did he text you a picture?
So that was what I asked for next. I'm like, what does it look like? And he sent me a picture. It was red. It was so red would not necessarily be my first choice. My first choice would have been black, but it's not yellow. It's not god awful green color.
It's not that orange thing or whatever they were doing, like the FJ Cruiser thing they were trying to pull off or whatever.
Just terrible.
So
I'm like, okay, I can dig the red. It's cool, and it looked cool in the configuration.
I was gonna say, do you have a picture you can share, Dave? I guess I should have asked you for this pre-show.
I will. I'll try and search while we're talking.
I
definitely have one on my phone, but I don't know if I have one on the computer. So I was like, okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah.
What do we got to do to make this work?
Was it optioned up right? I mean, I guess because port consensus, this whole port thing, what's going on there, adding, subtracting features. Did it come with what it was supposed to? And was it everything you were looking for? How did that part work out?
Yeah. So everything was there. So we haven't said what it is. I'm sure people can figure out what it is by now. But I will tell you that it was the Wild Track package, which it's a pretty sought after package. It's not, it's unusual in two ways. Number one, it's a 2-door, and number two, it's the Wild Track package. And there's just not a ton of those around there. Okay. Other than that, the person really didn't option it up much. It's got the plastic front bumper, not the they call it the modular front bumper. It's got the 8-inch screen, not the 12-inch screen inside. It doesn't have the extra electronics package. So the
driver assist stuff and all that bullshit.
It has a lane assist in it, which I used when I was driving it home, but that's the only time I've ever used it.
Yeah, as soon as you figure out how to turn it off, that's for sure. That's turn it off. We're good. I know how to drive a car, dude. Right. Stop making my wife's car does that. I call it my wife's car. It's our car. But if this thing tries to help me drive and pull in my driveway and shit, and I'm always yelling at it like, dude, I know what I'm doing. Stop beeping at it.
It's funny, actually. I was accelerating the other day through the center of my town, and the thing started giving me the brake warning assist because I was coming up behind somebody faster than it liked, and I'm like, dude, I'm literally accelerating here. I don't need you to help.
Massachusetts, dude, you're gonna have to really recalibrate this shit if this is gonna work.
So in answer to your question, yes, it had all the stuff that I wanted. It's got 35-inch tires on it. It's got a very cool package, 2-inch lift in it from the factory, all that kind of stuff. I didn't need the 12-inch screen. I didn't need all the extra electronics. Right.
Yeah, it sounds like it was optioned up the way you probably would have built it. I don't know if it was the same way you built it that magical night, but either way. Yeah,
it's funny because the one that I built, they actually the Bronco. Oh, I just said it. The community, damn it. The community that is built up around these vehicles calls it a base squatch, is what I had built. So you take a base one and you give it the bigger tires and a couple other options, and that's it. You don't get all the electronics and all that other stuff. That's basically what that Wild Track package does. So
cool. Got it. That's awesome. All right. So yes, you've said it. Yes, it is a Ford Bronco. Yes. Here's the thing. The truck looks so cool. Obviously, as I told you pre-show, I am in favor of anything that comes in red and black, and it looks awesome. We're going to work out a branding deal. So next time you see Dave Foy's Bronco, it may have a gigantic Car Biz logo on the side of it, but that's for 2023 discussions. But so Dave, the dealership's in Florida. Yep. They tell you they have a car that you are going to buy. This was done via text, basically. Here's the picture. Yes, I agree. What happens next?
So Ed says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in touch with Tom, who is going to be the salesperson on it. This is the first time Ed's backing himself out of the process.
Fair enough. And that's to be expected, by the way. I know that's it's completely reasonable to give a salesperson a situation to take over and run with. Probably one of Ed's most trusted would be my guess.
And he said, he's like, this is the guy when I purchase a vehicle that I deal with. So I'm like, cool. Thank you for handing me over to Tom. He makes the warm introduction to Tom, and Tom takes over from there. Okay. So I told you this was on a Saturday. It was obviously a day on for Tom. He was there. I get on the phone with him, chatted about what he needed from me come Monday. And so I got him that information, got that sent over to him. We communicated back and forth on Monday with the information that he needed.
Text? Email?
Most of it was through text. Yeah, he gave me his phone number, so we did most of it through text. Email, obviously, when I had to email him, my license and
document shit like that. And Dave, just for, again, if you don't mind, is this a finance? Is this a cash deal? How are you transacting against this purchase?
Yeah, I did finance it. Yep.
Okay. And did you already have your own? Did you go through the dealership?
No, I went through the dealership.
Okay. And did they take you through the OEM, and was there a subvented rate, or was it just the same?
That's all. So it went through Ford Motor Credit. Yeah. Obviously I'm a dealership guy. I know the dealers like to be able to make their money. I want them to make their money on this. That's the other thing that I should say on this. Yes. One of the other reasons that I picked this dealership in the end, MSRP. Nothing.
MSRP only, right? I believe I've seen, I want to say Ed's made a point of speaking to that. Maybe I'm incorrect about that.
No, you're correct.
they're not in the greed business. And I know, gosh, everyone's only worth what people pay. I know all the stories and the rationale for having people pay over MSRP. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people being rational, which Dave, by the way, you're going to love one of the last episodes. I think I'm going to make it the last episode of the season. A young lady created a website around the whole concept because of what happened to her brother trying to buy a car, dude. It's going to be great.
That'll be nice.
It's going to be awesome. All right. So Ed and his team, no over MSRP only. Did that match what you had built? Did that number line up for you or anything weird about that?
Yeah, it was 11 and some change less than what I had built on the website.
100 or 1,000?
1,000. Yeah, it was substantially less than what I built on the website.
But did you build something with more options?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I put together had a few more things than what this had.
I was just trying to make sure, isn't that weird? Ford went through a weird markup period where they got wind people were charging over MSRP, so they decided to up the MSRP in a hope of getting on with the business, right? Yeah. So I didn't know if maybe you caught them in that funky window where they were trying to do that. I was just
it's possible because I didn't save what I built.
Sure. It was over. It was out of your mind. You saw the number. You may as well delete it into your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. So you go through your financing with them. How does that part of the transaction get accomplished for you?
So everything was done through text, phone, and email.
Okay.
We
do they email you a credit app? Did you fill one out and fax it back? Not fax it, but scan it back. How did you actually get involved in the finance aspect?
Yeah. So he emailed over the credit app. I got that all filled out and sent back to them. Most of it was electronic that I could fill out. So I didn't have to print out an 82-inch document out of my printer and tape it together. It was pretty much all electronic stuff. Anything that did need paper, they overnighted to me.
All at once in a package and no big deal, right? Very easy. FedEx has been around for ever. So that's not exactly to people. Look at this, guys. I'm just telling you, look, he hasn't once mentioned a digital retail tool. Okay. Yeah. He didn't tell you who went through some, and again, not a typical experience, but Dave, let me ask you something as I go through and make my notes. Have you driven this vehicle to this point?
Nope.
Not this one, but
never even been in one.
Any of what I guess okay, so this may have been more, I wonder if it was out of body, out of mind, Dave. You thought to yourself, I've been driving a Wrangler for, as long as I could. It can't be any more of an uncomfortable drive than that, right? I mean, how do you rationalize spending the money that we agree is still a good bit of money, even if it's 11 grand less? How does one justify that without even driving it? What made you feel okay about that, I guess?
Yeah, I started my career with Ford. I was with Ford for almost 14 years. I had worked in a Ford dealership in the last 3 years. So I knew, even though this was a new vehicle, driving an F-Series, you kind of figure it's going to be about the same type of thing, right?
Based on what it's built on, et cetera, like what you knew and researched about the truck, you said, hey, look, if they built it on the F-150 platform, then I drove that for 5. I mean, it's no problem for me. Okay.
Exactly. Right. So, and then obviously there are plenty of electronic tools for you to find out stuff. Right. So you can go to YouTube, you can just do a Google search for.
And did you?
Oh yeah. I went on to, I get into the forums before I bought it so I could read about things and, see if people were having certain issues or if people had certain complaints. I watched a ton of videos on, on people who had driven them and either had bought them or were driving them to do reviews on them.
I assume you came across a good bit of pre-roll advertising during your YouTube holes then, I would imagine.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting. Again, part of the journey that people just assume didn't happen or doesn't take place. Some of these large enough forums that have the ads built into them are there for a reason, because a lot of what Dave's talking about is taking place there. So I think people say, oh, what's the point of putting in an effort as a forum, as a dealer? Because, we used to always preach to our guys, go in those things and advocate, man.
Yeah.
Advocate for the people who are giving headaches. Tell them we can fix that shit and find the problem and be,
Right.
whatever. So I just think this is, again, not a unique, this isn't unique to what customers themselves could be doing. Car guy or not, this is not that. This is probably more par for the course than anything else.
I wasn't on Ford's dealer portal looking up information. I was on Google Bronco two-door.
Google.
Yeah. You can find it. I promise you, whatever you want to find, you'll find it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you were comfortable between YouTubing it, feeling like some virtual test drives, maybe whatever. You're good. You're going to sign on the dotted line. Everything happens via text, email, electronic, whatever isn't is overnighted.
Yep.
So now we have a car deal, but we're still in Massachusetts. Our car is in Florida. What next?
Yeah. So once everything was to the point where we could say, okay, we can deliver it on this day. And part of the discussion through this was, hey, do you want us to arrange to have it shipped to you? Or do you want to come down and get it? How do you want to actually arrange getting the vehicle? And I said, no, I'll come down and get it. Gives me a chance to go to Florida out of New England.
It's the cool part of the experience though, right, Dave? It's like, hey, the car is there. They can ship it to me. Yeah, it's going to cost $800, whatever, blah, 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 whatever the number is. And you're like, yeah, or maybe me and the wife can get away, go down to Florida, breathe some clean, warm air, and then roll back up in this thing and really get, to me, no easier way to get acquainted with a car you have not driven than to drive it from there to there.
Yep. And so what I ended up doing was I took my son with me, actually. So,
okay. See, I don't have kids, Dave, you know about me. So my default by nature is always take my wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
weird at certain points, but it's still my nature. So, all right. Absolutely. You and the son, how cool is that? That's awesome. Yeah,
it was very cool to, so we took the trip down and, took some time to enjoy a little bit. And then went over and met Ed and Tom at the dealership. Had 2 more signatures that I had missed on one of the documents that they sent to me that I had to sign in Tom's office. And literally that was it. The transaction was done. I could have, at that point, give me the key. Here's my paperwork. Drive out the lot if you want. I stuck around. I talked to Ed. I talked to Tom. They have a restaurant there. They have Ford's Garage. So we stuck around. We had lunch and
that thing's very cool, man. That to me is such an experience. And it's what makes it easy to be a destination dealership. A, yes, he's in Florida, but B, he has that amenity. He has that relationship part of it, which is cool. Now, you and your son were already in, you guys kind of came into Florida. Did they have anything to do with rental cars or anything like that, reading up to it, picking you up, any part like that?
Yeah. So the flight, I took care of the flight going down there. Ed got me a hotel room to stay in for the night. Cause we got there the day before. This is the above and beyond point, right? So rather than have me take an Uber from the airport to the hotel and then to the dealership, he stages one of their loaner cars in the airport parking garage for me. So tells me where it is, tell me what level of the garage, what parking spot it's on, and goes so far as to say, when you go out of the garage, save your receipt. I'll pay for the parking on it.
Of his own car.
Of his own car that
he was probably in there for what, 2 hours, probably like a $3, $8 bill, whatever it was, right? And just
it was $8.
And that's what I'm saying. That is the small shit, right? That makes people feel incredible. The staging of a car, I'm trying to figure out how to pick up my car from service after hours right now, right? Like that's and I'm not getting a lot of help with that. So I'm trying to formulate my own fucking plan. Like, you know what? Keep my key. I'll bring my backup key, and next time I'm up there, I'll just grab this thing. This is ridiculous. Why is this so hard? Right? All right. So he does this. You got a loaner. You and your kid got an extra day. He got you a hotel room.
Yep.
You show up. Now, was there any sort of a walk around? How does the delivery of a Ford Bronco go? Does anyone give you a, hey, what's up? Here's what we like, what you don't like, what to look out for?
Yeah. So Tom brought us out to the vehicle. gave us the whole walk around, you know, gave me it was abbreviated because it was me, because I already knew, I'd already been with Ford for so long. Like, I knew most of the stuff inside, but there are some features in this that are completely different than anything else that I'd driven. Right. So there's electronic front and rear axle locking switches that they have to show you. It's set up with outfitter switches in the top center console, so you can rig up lights and already have switches. So
and is this a hard top, Dave? Is that what's the top on the vehicle?
It's a hard top. So you ready? I'm going to share my screen here.
Yeah. Here it is.
You see it?
Not yet. Oh, there it is. Look at that thing, dude. That thing is built for the Colorado mountains. Did it have skid plates, Dave?
So this does not have skid plates. I think that's one of the things that made the one that I built be a little more expensive, is you can get the skid plates underneath, but it's pretty protected under there as it is. But and it has such a massive ground clearance that, you know, you really got to be doing some rocky stuff.
That is awesome. Yeah, when I used to live in Colorado, man, going to the mountains, it was some of the most incredible. You never had so much fun at 5 miles an hour in your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a hard top. It does have the front, what Jeep calls the freedom tops, those front two tops that come off.
Got it.
The back piece only weighs 89 pounds. There's 4 bolts, and you can take that thing out. The doors come off. You know, it's all modular. So
it all comes out, and you can just have you and the truck by the time the summer hits there in New England for that 45 days that we get it, right?
Yeah. So we did do the walk around thing where you know, where you showed me the things that I needed to know about. You know, other things I didn't need to be shown.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to roll the windows down, dude. I'm good.
Yeah, you don't have to show me how to.
Stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I got a couple more years, and you'll probably have to show me how to hook the Bluetooth up. But right now, I can still figure it out. So.
That's so true, dude. So that is it. That's the experience. You were ready to go. How long, quickly to clarify, how long did the communication take between you and Tom to get that part sewed up before you arrived? I forgot to ask you that.
Yeah. So we took, so the actual communication was done in a week. I waited another week before I flew down there.
Yeah. But within 2 weeks, you purchased a car that was, you know, however many miles away from your house.
Yeah. Within 2 weeks. And honestly, even the week that Tom and I went back and forth on things, some of what held up, some of what made it take 5 days to get through was some Massachusetts issues.
Titling, whatever the case is, however they expect things, the paperwork. I think that's the unknown people don't really get about doing digital business with people, is that state laws require something different. Wisconsin's really crazy about wet ink. They get all nuts about it. But again, dealers, don't make excuses about it.
Yeah.
Don't let it be the reason you don't do business with someone who lives in Massachusetts. Like, I get that you don't want to have business to a guy one time. He's not going to service. He's not going to do this, not going to do that. Well, what if you had the same waiting list, dealers? How about you're splitting it? I mean, you all have waiting lists that are decaying with no one on them. What does it matter if you called the 7th guy on the list and he's 1,000 miles away? Who cares?
Right. And this was their first Massachusetts deal. So a lot of this was unknown to them, right? Like, you know, they're not used to, they're not used to how Massachusetts.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Finance people just don't know how it goes. It's not, that's not how it works. Each state is so different.
Yeah. So here's what, when I went to pick it up, it had the Florida temporary tags on it.
Yep.
All right. Because of the Massachusetts
headache
that they have, you know, we couldn't get it registered in Mass in time for me to be able to go down there and pick it up, which waiting that additional week that we figured by that time it would be all set. Yeah. And it wasn't. So whatever, I pick it up with the Florida tags. He's like, hey, I'm going to keep working on getting it registered in Mass. I came back and they were having some trouble. They got a hold of somebody at the Mass DMV and they said, yeah, you got to mail your stuff to this place, this address. So they mail it to that address. Turns out they take it and mail it to another RMV address. So now it's taking more time to get it. And I said to Tom, like, look, I appreciate everything you're doing. I can literally drive to an office that's 20 minutes away from me and probably have it registered tomorrow. And he's like, we don't do things like that. He's like, we handle it end to end. I'm going to make this come to a close for you. And I was like, all right, cool. But just know, like, I can go do that.
Yeah, and remember, your temp tag is going to run out. So ultimately, we are on a window here. So if Dave needs to spend more than 24 to get it done.
And that's a valid point, because I started coming up against the temp tag running out. And so here's the rub with that. I was leaving to go to, where was I going? I think I was going to Pennsylvania for 4 days. In that 4 days, that temp tag was going to expire. So now I'm going to have my vehicle at an airport parking garage that when I come out, the temp tag is going to be expired. So I said to Tom, I'm like, this is a problem for me. And I can't leave it home. I can't, the airport's an hour away. I'm not going to Uber an hour away. So, so he's like, not a problem. We'll renew another temp tag and overnight it to you. Next day, there's my new temp tag to put on the vehicle so I can go to the airport and not have to be concerned with that.
Also, they could make sure they end-to-end it, because you would have given them an out a week into this, 10, you know what I mean, 2 weeks into this whole thing, and they still stuck with it, stuck it out. How long did it finally take for them to resolve it?
It was, so it was well past the 30 days because the temp tag expired.
Right. Did you didn't have to get a third temp tag though, did you?
No, didn't have to get a third. Right. I would say we probably went a good 6 weeks into this.
Over something you could have done for 5 minutes in 20 seconds or whatever it would have taken within 20 minutes of your house.
Yeah. You know, and you go down the registry. I would have waited in a line for an hour to get the vehicle registered, and off we would have went. Wow. But they handled it. They took care of it. They took care of every single part of that until the plates were literally delivered to me. So here's the other part. I get the plates delivered to me, get them put on my vehicle. The next day, I get another package from Bozard Ford, and I open it up. It had a couple of documents in it. I don't remember what they were, but there were a couple of documents in there completing the registration thing. And then there was a check in there. And I'm like, the heck do I have a check for? So I started fiddling through the documents, and it's that's one of the documents explaining why there was a check. And it was a difference in how they calculated the sales tax for Massachusetts and what it actually came out to, and the registration fees. And it was an overage of like 400 and something bucks, and they mailed me a check. I would have never known about that. I would have had no clue. They could have kept that.
Never.
Ed could have bought a whole bunch of people lunch with that 400 bucks, and I would have never known.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? But they sent it along, and then I get a follow-up call from Tom. That was the other thing. Anytime they sent out a package to me, I got a call from Tom saying package going out. I got a tracking number sent to me so I could follow it. And then after it was delivered, I got another call from Tom saying, hey, they're showing that they delivered it. Did you actually get it? Every single time.
Wow. I got to tell you, man, this sounds like you had an unbelievable experience buying the Ford Bronco. I could not be happier for you. I'm sure the drive home with your son was incredible. You guys got to experience that together. Dave, as we wrap this up, what would you leave people with from both sides? What would you say to dealers today as one piece of advice you have based on your experience? And what is one piece of advice you have for consumers based on your experience?
Yeah. So for dealers, listen, we love the word frictionless, but understand what that means. It means frictionless for your customer, not for you. So take the friction points out that your customers want removed. For years we put nail salons and coffee shops in dealerships, right? To remove the friction of somebody getting their car service. They don't want to be there. That's not the friction point for them. It's being there is the friction, not that they can't get a latte while they're there. So that's on the dealership side. Pay attention, listen to the voice of your customer, give them what they are asking for. Those digital tools are only coming about because people said we want to buy stuff online, and that's great, except that what we introduced just gave them more friction.
Correct. And it's not buying anything online. It's buying people from people who live in different places using the internet to facilitate it. It is not,
exactly.
This is not like you jumped on Amazon.com and bought this truck. This is not what happened. There's more, it's much more intricate than that. And to act like you can boil it down to some stupid fucking tool on a website is a bit annoying, to say the least, because it's not true to what is actually going to take place behind the scenes. So, all right, that's for the dealer. What is the advice for the consumer, Dave?
Yeah, for the consumer, it is to your job as a consumer is the same as it is for the people at that dealership. It's build a relationship with someone. You can't expect to walk in anywhere and be treated with the best service, the best of everything if you walk in there once every 5 years, right? Build a relationship, give them your business. And in turn, you get that back. You get that back with things that they'll deliver to you, that they'll go overboard to deliver to you because you were a customer of theirs.
I love the building rapport. You know, it happens all the time, right? Restaurants, mainly in my life, that's where I end up quite a bit. So you end up seeing the same people, going back to the same place, taking your friends to that restaurant because it means something to you to know that when you walk in there, you know how you'll be treated. I don't need people to roll out red carpets. I just need it to be consistent as to what I expected happened from the last time will happen this time, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Dave Foy, man, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. For those of you who would like to find out more about Dave Foy, he is all over LinkedIn. Dave, anywhere else people can find you?
LinkedIn's probably the easiest place to find me. Dave at quantum5.ai is my email. If they want to reach out to me by email, or they can go to quantum5.ai and find me right there on the website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, my friend. Thank you for being the returning guest to the Car Biz Chronicles. We do appreciate it. Everybody, hope you enjoyed the show. Tune in next week. We're going to get into yet another fun customer journey. Thank you so much.